Morning, everybody. Well, it's morning in the UK, 9 o'clock in the morning. I've just had a quick chat with Elsa and she froze, so she's gone off, and no doubt she'll be coming back in a moment or two. Just let me see if we're up and running on Facebook. There we are. That's looking good. Okie doke. So I'm just expecting Elsa to appear any moment. Hope you're all doing well. Oh, I've woken up once again with the devil in me, right? I feel like the dark-hearted one this morning, the dark destroyer, right? The psychopath with apparently a good heart or a big heart, that's where I'm up to this morning. So I've got no idea what's going to come up here, but hey, isn't that the way it's supposed to be? Have a script and expect it to be completely erased in a couple of seconds, and just open your heart, open your gob, and see what comes out next. So then I'm up to, I'm just looking for any comments. Elsa's probably gone off for a cup of tea or something. Well, talking a cup of tea, I think I'll have a jolly little sip of my own tea as well. Oh, there's the fox and the family. We've got fox family that come to the door, eating us out of house and home. And not only that, we've got a seagull a young seagull with a broken wing downstairs. And then there was a pigeon yesterday, so that's the sort of house that we live in, really. Hello, Roy. I can see that you're watching. Don't try and get away with anything, Roy. I can tell, because you're being surveilled. Elsa, have I upset you in some way? Oh dear, 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 dear. Elsa Dillon has entered the waiting room. Is there anybody out there? Oh, seem to be having connection problems. I've had a few of those myself just recently, and stuff not being allowed to be put up on Facebook. I wonder what that's all about. Goodness, Joseph, this wouldn't happen in a professional arena. People would say this was amateurish and isn't the way that it's supposed to be. Hiya, Di. I hope you're well. I don't know where else has gone. She's maybe there's some sort of malevolent forces that are trying to stop us connecting with one another. Possible. Here we go. Spin beings. I like that spiral thingy. There she is. I've just been chatting to the chaps while you were making a comeback.
Making a comeback. I'm sorry.
And that's all right. It's not, there will be people think that we're being obstructed by malevolent forces who don't want us to connect with one another, or it could just be some sort of technical problem. I don't know.
Yeah. I always feel like farm internet is like this poor little mouse, running around by 6 o'clock at night. He's tired.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I was saying to you before, I've woken up absolutely knackered this morning. I'm really, really tired. I could hardly string a thought together. But since we've connected, zoop, it's back. It's back, Yeah, it's making a comeback. I've been really looking forward to this because I've been looking forward to this because I seem to get set up a week before our talks for some reason.
Yeah, like clues.
Absolutely, clues. And one of the sort of introductory things I put was AU, 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 right? And it's like, AU, what are you looking at? But AU, right, we know that stands for gold. Oh, look, there you go. It started.
Oh, no, so, the kids call it the possum look. I get excited when I hear the words because, like you said, it's a clue.
Well, this is what I got. I got just mention AU because Australia is of utmost importance for many, many reasons at the moment and will be coming to the fore. And I got, look, see, I said to you before, I don't want to be deluded by anything. I don't want to make anything fit when it doesn't feel like it fits. It's got to almost like I've got to be out of the way and it's got to drop in. And when it drops in without my manipulations, it feels correct, and that's what I tend to do, because I've been duped and I've duped a lot of people also, I'm not a saint, but I just want really now, and I don't really understand. People say, oh, he's channeling that from his mind, right? I've got no idea what that means, because all I do is open me heart, open me gob, and see what comes out next. So the AU thing, I got, what that? Because I know AU is gold. And I got, yeah, but what does it also mean, Joe? And I go, I don't know. Well, why don't you go and put AU into Google and see what comes up? And what came up was, right, AU stands for astronomical unit. It's the unit of length between the sun and the earth. And I thought, oh, right. Oh, see, look, here it comes now. Up my legs, up my spine, out of the top of my head. It's coming in. So I got, yeah, but Joe, it not only stands for astronomical unit, Joe. What else does it stand for? And I got angstrom unit. And I thought, oh no, I remember angstrom units. And it looked in, go down to Wikipedia. Angstrom unit is a unit of vibration and frequency, right? And I got, Joe, as above, so below. So we've got gold, AU, Australia, angstrom unit, tiny unit, astronomical units, as above, so below, Joe. Everything's connected. There we are. We'll give you that to start off with. See what Elsa's got to say about that. Oh, God, she's clearing her throat. That's always a bad sign.
I've had this twice today.
She's very professional, isn't she, about that? She turns the sound off when she coughs her guts up. And then, sorry.
The kids are like, you're not coughing on live, are you? Okay. Anu, this will. Anu's before man. This rock voice that you channel is before maketh man. Anu is Ayu. Anu, how it's been gooped up with many layers of the two brothers. They kept saying, go before this, go before this, go before this. Anu is our ancestors, our ant beings. We're ants. We are descendants. We're tu, so send ants. And now we ascend ants. So we're hit rock bottom, which I feel like we really have. And now we are ascend ants. It is literally everywhere right before us. Ancient ants is arc ants, giant ants, peasants. Peasants is, and please, pleasant and peasants are the same word, same origin meaning. It means peas ants. Peas ants means the ones they feed starch to. And you become subservient. Tyrants, ants the other beings here on Earth that know how to farm. They farm with, and they have structure similar to us. They bring everything to the whole, and this is now where we are. We need to return to the whole of us, the dark hole in us, the rock bottom. And remember how we actually evolved, not and feel it as well. If this doesn't resonate for you, then you're not ready to hear this. But this Anu is before that. This is where they might have got Anunnaki, but they do layer up these words. Anu means, and you have to take off the human mind here because we're going beyond this, is like a nun tutor, a nun teacher. Anu, this Anu is it's the mother and it's the female. The queen bee is not how we interpret a queen. The queen bee has her role. That's it. It's not a she's better than the man or he's better than her. It's not like that with ants. They feel and communicate with their third eye and they sense it. They have 6 legs, and this is where Dr. Joe comes in for me, and they have antennas. And you, when we just got on, went like this. Now, I want to know, is these antennas possibly, is it possible they've curled them in on us to become our left and right brain? The wings that are missing on us, like Maleficent, they've cut her wings off. Have they cut our wings off, or have they folded them back in on us? Because ants actually don't have lungs. These are, if you look at a lot of the parts on ants, they are very similar to how we are. That's how we got. This is helm, abdomen. They have 2 stomachs. It's amazing. They have so many characteristics where I resonate more with an ant being than. And what was interesting is when I started realizing this AU and nu, anu, and it's like really deep like that. I had an ant looking at me in front of my computer. I never have an ant. He was looking at me, right at me. He was there and he was going like this. I'm going, are you talking to me while I'm reading? And is this really happening? And it was, I felt like it was magical because once I had acknowledged it, the ant left. One ant. There's only one ant. It's a huge topic to unfold, but I know that you'll go somewhere with it. So I'm going to be quiet and see what you say now.
Well, it's fascinating because I mean, I don't know how this works, but I just go with my feelings. My thing is that the F-off approach to health and happiness. F-off stands for focus on feelings first, and that's to go beyond this analytical mind, and into some sort of a different space where we get moved, or I get moved. You see, I've got it now. It's like a cloak, really, that sort of surrounds me. But what you got was you can also annul a marriage as well, And so when you annul a marriage, and then I got that the reverse about marriage is really a sort of, in a way, it's going to cause trouble. It's like an imprisonment of sorts, you know what I mean? So there's almost like a freeing, and when you say that about it being turned in ourselves, I also get the connection then from the reversal of a 10 sphere tree of life to a 12 sphere tree of life. And there's almost like a reconnection, and I get the triangulation then as well. So we've got a Trinitarian process going on. And what's happening is, as the third eye opens, the two cerebral hemispheres, they meet at the level of the, I'll just keep going with this, at the corpus callosum. And the corpus callosum is the midpoint. And sometimes it represents the Christ. Sometimes it represents the Holy Child that bring the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine back together in harmony. And what's happened for millions of years, there's been an accentuated antagonism where there's been a fight between the masculine and the feminine components of what it is to be fully human. And that's being unblocked now with this great big tidal wave that's coming in. Is like a great big spiral brush that's cleansing all these 12 spheres. And we're now being allowed access now to the 12 streams of consciousness. So they're all back online now. The only thing is, though, and this is where I was in 1978, I think it was, in the time of the harmonic convergence. It almost like seemed like my head opened up and all this stuff was flying in, and me heart, if you like, or my human heart couldn't emotionally process it, and I was trying to throw myself off bridges and do myself in because I couldn't stand all the information that was coming in. Anyway, I digress slightly, but what I got was the annul. But when you started to do that, in almost like ancient Egyptian that came in, I just felt like crying. I was sort of overwhelmed on the inside by a sort of a deep knowing and a knowledge and a connection. Now, Elsa, I've said to you before is I don't want to make anything fit that doesn't fit, you know what I mean? And all I'm doing is expressing what's happening to me and opening my mouth, you know what I mean? And, I've had such a lot because I get a lot of stuff about Siriusly. It won't leave me alone. Okay, Siriusly. And I got that. Siriusly is making a comeback. What you've just said, Joe, is it's a return to a triangulation, a Trinitarian reconnection. So it's the triangle again. It's the father, the mother, and the son, or the daughter, or whatever, So I don't know. Over to you.
Well, so you have how we're understanding it is you have the rise, which is the sun, and the set is the father, and the mother is the space in between. Well, the set is AU. If you go back to the so the reason that it's AU is because it's golden. So, and why does it connect with Australia? Why does it connect? And it's amazing how these words, when you actually keep tracing them or following symbols back, and you take off the human mind, what we've been trained, it really does shapeshift, and then your human brain kicks back in and goes, "Oh, it can't be that. That's too obvious. That's just ridiculous. It's just way too obvious." And I refer back to David Icke and many greats like him. They all said it will be so obvious and so before us that we will dismiss it. And this is this pivotal point now is people are going, well, the normal is really, really getting crazier and crazier. And they're looking now for something. They're looking for something because they can't find their faith or trust in what they knew. So then you come back to the gut feeling. And the other thing that with the ants is they feel with all the hairs on their body. What happens to us when we get a confirmation? All our hairs stand up on our arms and legs and the back of our neck. You say it all the time. This is ant energy. This is our ancestors talking to us. So we tap into that and we can collect. I'm telling people around the world, we're sharing information. How does Dr. Joe know what I'm thinking before I've finished thinking about it and he's already posted it? How is this possible? You're faster than Google. You're tapping in, and this is what ants do. They tap into each other. And they work together and they share and they get on with it and they're in alignment. And this is where we're heading. It's interesting. I was in a session, Dr. Joe, with this really lovely lady, and I had her face and then the spin being symbol under her head, and she mentioned the black rose, and I saw in the symbol, which is we've had for a year, is I saw the white, but then I saw the black spiral in it as well. So the the ants, if they get too squished in together, their pheromones get all tangled up, and then they have this black spiral, and it sends them into the exhaustion of death. They can't get out of it, and I feel this is, I don't think that this is what's going to happen to humanity, but you can definitely see this happening. People, it's so ingrained in them, and they're fighting to keep it alive. And so we're the spiral of light in between the blackness and being the best spirals we can be.
Fascinating, because this is what I'm getting a lot as well, is Joe, as people get more and more afraid, it's almost like the protective antennas go out, right, to protect them, but it has exactly the opposite effect. What they go into more contraction, so that would be the downward spiral. It's the heart and opening of the heart that brings with it an increase in magnetic energy, right? And this is now, it's not electromagnetic, it's a magneto-electric effect. And what that does is, like magnets, there's a space between, and people need space in order for this energy, this cleansing energy, to come in. So there's almost like this midpoint, this midpoint where we have to be far apart from each other, but close enough for information to flow through freely. And I've been very aware all my life about sick buildings and sick building syndrome and stuff like that, and the very sensitive to electromagnetic and electrical frequencies and stuff like you have, and every time I'd go into certain places, I'd walk through the door and my energy would just be zapped straight away, really. So I'm quite aware of these things. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm just going to keep going. So the thing is now is it's helping people to understand that the way forward for them is already within them. It's out of the head and back into the heart. And that's where they're going to get their true power, their cleansing energy, their resetting. This is the great reset, is to get out of the head. And the head is caput, capitis. That's what head is. And capital, right? It all, capital, living on capitalism and materialism, it's all been head dominated for such a long time. And that's why so many people are cracking up and losing their heads, right? Which is probably a good thing in one way, because I say we need to metaphorically decapitate ourselves and just trust the guidance from our feelings that are coming from deep within our hearts, and that's what I'm trying to help people with is, I don't know what you need to do, but you do at the deepest level. Well, what do you mean? I don't, just look, all I'm trying to say is breathe like this, use a positive emotion. And then the next bit's a hard one. Take your left ear or your right ear, whichever feels comfortable, and tune into your heart and say this: I don't know what's going on. I wonder if you could possibly help me. And then they're on the phone then thinking he needs to be taken away, this fella, you know what I mean? But the whole point about it is there are people suffering from massive breakdowns, which could be breakthroughs if only they just trust others that are slightly ahead, who are turning back round, putting their arms out and trying to drag them out of this black hole that they're getting sucked into. I see it's like grids, it's like the grids that go into the drains. There's people with their heads popping up. All we need to do is turn around, pull them out, kick them up the bottom and say, go on there, tune into your heart and allow it to guide you now to freedom and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm like, in nomine Patris et Filio et Spiritus. I've just got to say this as well, people say to me, you've got a good heart, right? And I don't care whether I've got a good heart, a bad heart, whether I'm coming from the depths or the heights or anything like that. I just know that I've got some sort of a purpose right? And I'm happy when I open my heart up and start sharing, because for some reason, lots of people seem to resonate with what's coming out of me gob, like you as well. Over to you before I get into trouble.
Well, this is so this relates back to what we learned in the beginning of the year. It's the life force. It's our will. So the life force, as I'm really starting to learn it, is it's the life force is the breath. The breath is what, so you breathe in, breathe out. So it's give, receive, give, receive. I'm probably doing it the wrong way with my hands. But then you have the water ions, which also flow through us. So now you have two streams going on again. So the water ions carry records for us to tap into. Literally, get it? Tap in.
Very good.
Kids. It's in my household. They're like, Mum, can you please speak normal? Please speak normal to us. You're driving us nuts. But we tap into the water ions, and we can collect the water intelligence. So breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, and then you just, like you said, you're asking the heart, what do I need to do? What is it that is needed? Not wanted, needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is needed now? Do you need me to do anything, or am I just be here? That's fine too. And are you able to trust that feeling that comes through, or are you going to 3D it? And that's where we all get confused, because we 3D it. I 3D things too. It's just the doubt and the fear. But you the more you seem to breathe in and breathe out with it, breathe in, breathe out with it, like, and then you tap into it more. The excitement of it, and the dovetailing, and meeting people like Dr. Joe, and having these connections with people that you haven't met before, but they seem to know more about your life. Yeah. But they've never met you. So how is this possible? Because you're tapping in, and the excitement and the buzz and the lifting that you get from this, you literally become a lightened being, and none of the rest matters. No.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because I mean, recently what's come up in my life is the difference between judging, evaluating, and discernment, really. And it's tricky, isn't it? Because they're just words. But I live my life now is that if I'm with somebody, right, and my heart opens and it goes, then for the moment, it's good to be in contact with that person. It's not to say that it won't close down and then you move on and do the same with other people, So living a day at a time is quite useful, because, you get the day. My thing is, you get a clean slate at the beginning of the day, right? Make the best of it. And then tomorrow, do the same again, and that's my sort of simple philosophy now, really. And not to sort of try and bring anything from before, because that's almost like going back into memory, right? And trying to clear stuff up that happened in the past. It seems to be a waste of breath and a waste of energy. This is what I've just got again, is to go back to the angstrom units, the astronomical unit versus the angstrom unit. Well, the symbol for angstrom unit is an A, which could be a collapsed H actually, but it's an A with an O over the top. You know what I mean? And then that takes me back then to the series called Stargate, right? And it takes me back to all these portals opening. This is the way my head works. I think you're similar to me. It all flies in. But what I got was, Joe, it's so important that people understand about water, the fourth phase of water, which is basically plasma. There's actually plasma going on in the cosmos at the moment. So there's plasma there, as above, so below. What's actually happening there is, it's like a superconductive element now, where information's actually flying through. And in my medical work, right, what I got was, Joe, go and find this. And it took me to a paper, and it talked about pH. Now, pH is about hydrogen ion concentration, and that's protons, as we know. But there's also an oxygen and another hydrogen, so it's HOH. So they're now connecting, and it almost like brings that, my head goes, I'm going to be burnt out soon. We've got this coming back now. So the information that's flowing in now in the form of protons and photons and phonons just open up now, allow the energy to come in, but just become aware of your breathing as well. And I just want to say about breathing, I get this just before we came on the show. It's to allow the breath to breathe us. And when we breathe at about 6 breaths per minute, what actually happens is both sides of our autonomic nervous system start to work harmoniously with one another. And it's almost like when you get to a certain point, your breathing stops. And that's when the information flies in, because we almost like become, that's the space between breaths. And if we can help people to get to that point, they will be informed themselves without any need for any external information, really. Over to you, Elsa.
So pH is huge for us this year, especially because pH is power and potency. And your power and potency is the golden ratio of acidity and alkalinity, and it's water. Water's the golden ratio, and then on one side you have blood, and the other side is milk on the scale of acid and alkalinity. 7 is heaven, and you spoke of the collapsed H. Now, the collapsed H is a big one for us because it also, in symbols, it goes like a C, so an arc with a cross through it. That's us. That's your 2 feet and your heaven inside, your center, your level place, your balance. And this is what's important in a colony of ants or bees is the balance. There must be balance. There must be order and balance. Order not in our human mind order. Order or law of the cosmos. That's the only law there is, and it's not spelled L-A-W. It's spelled L-O-R. That's a law. And this is what we're all tapping back into. So it's not who did this and who did that and who's she and who's that. This is all just falling away. None of this matters to a colony. The colony taps back into the energy of the nest, of the hive, and they all work together. And they wake with the sun and they rest with the moon. That's it. And they work together. And this is where we're heading back to. It's just that which part of the descendant are you, or are you the ascendant? So I see all these little ants coming down, and I see all these little ants walking up. And we're all at different levels. And sometimes you slip back, like maybe the crumb's too heavy. Like sometimes you're up here and then you slide all the way back down here because you have to recollect something. That's okay. There's no right or wrong way for you to do this, because how you've come here is how you're meant to collect the information in the water. And then when the water comes out of you, or tears, or whatever, however the sweat comes out of you back into the water, it goes back into the sea of intelligence and comes back to us. So when they say you are I and I are you, I never understood that, never understood it. But as soon as I knew there was water, then I understood.
Oceanic
It never
consciousness.
becomes less. It only becomes, it only can become more. It can never become less.
This is fascinating. And again, you talk about balance. I get that all the time. It's not about good and bad. It's not about right and wrong. It's just about balance. balance and experience. And what I got was cog. We're all cogs, right, in this. And I got, what does cog mean? Cog means center of gravity. What do you mean center of gravity? It's your sacral chakra, Joe, right? Because the center of gravity, if you're out of alignment with gravity, it's always a weight on your mind, right? This is, so it's coming through. I said, well, okay, but Joe, it even goes back to simple things like postural abnormalities. If your head's out of alignment, then you're always being bombarded then by an extra force. Your muscles, there's muscles called anti-gravity muscles, right? And they work cooperatively. So so rather than being accentuated antagonism, and this goes again with alignments, if your muscles are aligned and are working perfectly, you've got a downflow and an upflow working perfectly. There's perfect balance. See, I've got there we go now. I've got up my legs. I've got the knee trembling happening to me now. So anti-gravity. So Joe, you've got these four densities. I won't go into that for now, but you've got physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. True alignment is when these four components are all working harmoniously, and then there's no resistance then to the information. So you're completely and utterly in alignment with your soul's purpose then. And there will be some differences, Joe, because each soul has an individual skill, attribute, or job to do. And that's why we're slightly different. Let me just say this. I got this paper and it was about pH balance in the midbrain. And the midbrain is the social brain. But we've been misdirected away from understanding this, because in fear, what happens is it becomes more acidic in the midbrain. And then we get cut off then from our true cortical responsiveness, the top of the brain. It gets misdirected into egocentricity. So we contract then, and we can't have a clear, balanced outlook. So therefore, we can't be clairvoyant, because we're living in fear. It's called self-centered fear. How do you know that you're in self-centered fear? Because you feel contracted, you feel miserable, you feel depressed, and your vitality goes. There's no flow. On that note, back to you.
Well, this is good, because now we're giving people a tool to, so with the tool now, if you are having those feelings, then you can check in with yourself. And over the years, this is what I would do. A lot of the times while I was pregnant, I was very frustrated because I was so large, I couldn't bend, and I wanted to do things, but I couldn't do it. So I had to adjust and check in with who I was. Usually I was frustrated with Richard, because I had this huge list for him to do and he didn't want to do them. So I had to learn how can I do that job without harming myself or the baby, and work around this situation that was causing me to be frustrated. Am I really frustrated with Richard? No, I'm frustrated with myself. So I'm going to give this example. So we had this huge pile of mulch and sticks that we had to get rid of, and it was absolutely huge. Like, you couldn't see past the house. It was just huge. And I kept asking Richard and the boys to clean it up, and they wouldn't do it. And I was really pregnant. I think I was about 7 months. So I was large. And so what I did is I would walk stick by stick daily, stick by stick daily. And I just did this, and it was like a form of meditation. It worked me through my frustration with Richard and helped me to understand it was all within. And I completed the whole mulch stick pile, and I was nicknamed after that the bulldozer. And I did it while I was very pregnant, but I did it stick by stick. And it was by walking the realization of my ego and understanding it and using it then as a tool to assist me through the next emotion that I have. So the next time I had anger or emotion with someone or a school teacher or anything, it could have been anything, I remember stick by stick, work through it, and then you can let those chemicals, then the good ones, or not the good ones, but the chemicals that allow you to connect and tap in And then it becomes easier. It just becomes easier. And that becomes not addictive, but it just feels so good to be there. You don't want to go there.
It's
But you have
almost
to
as if
practice that.
it's almost as if you get to welcome the triggers, don't you? Because only the ego could be triggered, and whether it's conscious or unconscious, right? An ego threat brings with it a defensive reaction, an emotional reaction. And if you can feel that coming in, and rather than take any action, is step back, then becoming like you're witnessing, objective about your subjectivity, you can see then that there'll be associated with that some sort of a fear or some sort of a pride thing that you're not getting your own way. We can only ever be disturbed, this is my understanding, if some person, place, thing, situation, or event isn't going the way of our ego's expectations, right? And once you realize that any emotional disturbance is something that needs acting upon or seeing clearly, sometimes you just need to see it clearly and it dissolves, and then the energy comes back into your system then to go forward. The central tenet of alternative and vibrational medicine is that pain and disturbance is an obstruction to the flow of vital energy or spirit. Call it chi, call it prana, call it ki, call it elan vital, call it what you like. But once this flow is interrupted, it's an indication that there's something to be learned there, basically. And I know that now, that even this, and then when you get good at it, so this is about developing emotional tolerance. And emotional tolerance really means to let go of judgment, right? And it's really difficult, because I'm still full of judgments. I'm still this, that, and the other, but I can feel it come in. I get a grip in my gut and I think, hang on, step back, Joe. What action do you need to take here? So this is honestly about cleaning our own sides of the street and allowing other people to do that. But we live in such a world now, we're afraid to speak now in case somebody gets emotionally upset because you've used the wrong word or whatever, To me, it's all, there's a word coming up now. It's all bollocks, it's upside down and it's all nonsense to me, Right. So just let me say this other thing as well. I think there's a phrase that I've learned in Alcoholics Anonymous, actually, and it's pain is the touchstone of our recovery. And that means if you're in pain, you're hanging on to something and you need to get to the root of it, really. And the root of all pain, all disease, all illness, right? People won't want to hear this, but I'm going to say it, and I could be totally wrong. Please don't believe a single word I say unless it resonates with you, right? Right. So this is what I've learned is pain is the touchstone, right? It's all to do with one thing and one thing alone: self-centered fear. Fear is an evil and corroding thread. The fabric, i.e. the DNA, the fabric of our existence is shot through with it. And I think that that's why we're all here. It's a sort of lesson in self-mastery to realize that we have to overcome fear. And every time you overcome fear, which will be individual and specific to each person, once you learn to overcome that and walk through it, you get closer to what it is to be perfectly in line with the universe. I see, in nomine Patris. I'm back to it again. I've become the priest, the monk, the pope, and everything else. Over to you, Elsa.
I need some smoke and some oil flicking.
Yeah, smoke and mirrors, smoke and mirrors.
So a touchstone. So again, the descendant, touchdown, and then we're coming back up. The evil is, so this is our kids love this. Evil is live. So which frequency? So don't look at these words now as words. Don't look at them as humans anymore. Just look at it as a frequency. Is the frequency going this way, or is it going back this way on that word? The other one is dog, and are you getting treated like a dog? Well, it's not. A dog is obedient. A dog is loving, and a dog is unconditional, and dog is God. So which way are you going with the hurts? So God is also your best friend. God is within. Which way are you following the hurts on that word? And it's very, it sounds playful, but these words have helped me through some really sticky situations. Not just there's some just with not only physical pain but emotional pain, and we all have had different levels of pain that are there to, like you said, make us see the contrast in it and experience it, and take the gifts from it so that we can use it tomorrow, the next day when we rise and set. It's a tool. That's it. It just goes into your memory, and that's it. You don't have to carry it around. You don't have to weight yourself down. You, you don't have to walk around with it as a weight. It's just a memory tool for you to use when you need it. And the actual word memory is man's gift story, and that's so it takes the heat off. I always say it takes the heat off you being a human, and you don't have to carry all this around. You just tap back into it when you need it, and then you don't have to project it forward or relive it all the time. You just have to, as you need it, check in with the heart as you need it. And then, like Dr. Joe said, his tool, check in with the heart, breathe out, in. Do I need this now? No. Well, I'm not, I can't carry all this stuff around because I can't do what I need to do.
The weight on your shoulders is your head, isn't it? This is the thing, so we do have to literally metaphorically decapitate ourselves, and almost like live without and beyond memory, because memory is associated with the past. It's a stored thing, and if we're living in the moment, right, we don't need memory to live in the moment if we trust the information will come from our heart and soul, and it's looking after us. I keep getting all the time, son, you're being totally and utterly looked after. You've got nothing to worry about ever again. So go out and make sure that the joy of living, and that's why I've called this one Anode to Joy, because anode, right, an anode, right, is an electrical plate, really, and it's cations that are associated with it and attracted to the anode. So I was getting all this about electrical and magnetic energy and stuff like that. But anode to joy, I was told a long time ago, is get out of your head, back into your heart, and just take every single day and make the best of it, Joe. Make the best of it. And this is where the head doesn't like this, you see, because people say to you, if you're feeling depressed, write down a gratitude list. They used to say that to me, and I'd be like, fucking gratitude, and my head would be there. But, they said, look, don't think about it. Just start writing. What are the good things? Have you eaten something today? Right. How did you get here? In a car. Oh, that was good. You've got a car, So I had to be talked into writing this list out. And it was almost like Gestalt therapy, because it changed my polarity, really, And as I was writing it, it's almost like I put one down, two down. I thought, you know what? Not such a bad life after all, really. So as you say, there are tools. The difficult thing is to try and disconnect from what your head's telling you, because this is the seat of stinking thinking, right? And this is in everybody. This is where the solution is. And as you know about solutions dissolve all your problems, There we are. Over to you.
So before I forget, you did say before anti-gravity.
Oh, all right. Oh, there you go. I
Like,
saw your eyes light up. I thought, wonder what I've just said there.
What did he say? Yeah. So now, okay, you have to you take all this and you go. The last few days, a lot of people are acting up again because we're in the heat of the Mercury retrograde, and I can feel them. They're acting up, and they really, because they're not acting up because of you. They're acting up from what's in them, and they're showing you that you've ascended and that they're not, and they're frustrated in themselves. That's it. And that's okay, because you'll be either inspiring them or making them go into that touchdown spot on the rock, the touchdown of pain. But don't be lesser you. Stay you, stay the full you, because to be less of you takes them and you off path, off orbit, and you'll actually have to have that whole experience again. And that lesson I have learned a lot. So I don't hide from things, just be your full self, because otherwise it comes back and bites you in the ass, literally. And how many times do you have to be bitten in the ass about the same thing? So uh,
Yeah.
that's one thing. So like Dr. Joe saying, I don't care whether my heart's this way or that way. This is who I am. So he's being his full spin. And because you're being this being, you're enabling everyone that crosses your path to be their fullest. And it doesn't mean that it resonates with you. It doesn't. You don't have to love everyone. It's not like that. It's just that you're allowing them to see who they are by you being the full you. And that's what we're here to do. It's
To
just
thine
tricky.
own self, to thine own self be true. And I thought, well, because I used to get that a lot, and what do you mean? Well, to thine own self, Joe, that means don't be anybody else's self. Because basically, since you were born, you've just been a programmed automaton. I think, hang on, steady on. You could be hurting my feelings here, whoever you are talking to me in my head. I said, but just look at it, Joe. From an early age, everybody, as soon as they basically pop out, and even before, they get walloped and they get misdirected away from who they essentially are. So they're programmed in capitalism, caput, kappa. They're programmed in that. You have to get to a state of rock bottom, because actually it's just like the ceiling to the next dimension. It's not the bottom, Joe. It's actually ascension. So it's like a drill that's drilling through. And I see this as lower hearts moving into higher hearts through that vesica Pisces thing. That's the corridor. But sometimes you just have to be pinned down and stopped, right? Because otherwise your head will jump in to say, I'll try this now, I'll try that. It's almost like you have to get to a still point, right, where almost automatically something lifts you. You get an uplift from underneath and it goes, look. And I always see that like the goldfish, or there's one fish in the fish bowl and he developed like a big strong tail and he goes flip. And every now and then his head comes up out of the water and he goes, flipping heck, he says, flipping heck, there's a whole new world out here I've never seen before. And he goes back down and he says to his mate, Billy, honest to God, mate, just get your head up there because there's a whole world out there. And Billy says, send for the white coat men again, right? And they stick him back into the psychiatric department when really he can just see a little bit ahead of everybody else and he's trying to get this through. And I think that's where we sort of are, and I think that's what, here's a good lead coming in now. I think that's what the Siriusly Festival in December, right, might be. It might be a part of that where people get together who would have the same mind and the same heart just to express who they really are, What have you got to say? Anything at all about the Siriusly Festival, Elsa?
All right. Well, the Siriusly Fest is in December, and Gigi and myself have decided that we're going to go. And we were talking to Jem, our eldest, and she was like, well, I can't let you two dingbats go by yourself. I'm going to have to look after you. So she's the warrior. So there's 3 of us planning on being at Soulology Fest. Now, I haven't traveled since this day, 22 years ago. I haven't really traveled since this day. We were warned not to travel anymore for a while. And we were told it was going to be for, a good couple of decades. So here we are on this day for us. And I remember this day. I was 3 months pregnant. This was a big day for us. This flight path was one of Richard's, so yeah, it's big, and it rattled all the colonies around the world. And I remember going, what am I doing? I'm bringing a child into this world. But now I know. I know now. I knew I was on the right path, but I didn't know why. And, now we are going to, we don't know, we have Dr. Joe's audience as witnesses. We don't actually know how it's going to happen, but we just know it will. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Am I scared or nervous? Possibly. Am I excited for our girls? Yeah, they've never travelled, so this is a big step for them. But I guess why I'm sharing this is that, again, I actually don't know how it will happen, but I just know if it's meant to be, it will. And this is what we've been talking about the whole way through. So this is when we shifted to this new home that we were in. We had witnesses, and we said, we're leaving this to the last minute. And literally, it was pretty much the last day. And then we found this amazing home. And we had everyone as our witnesses, and they were like, how did this happen? How did you do this? And I said, I actually didn't do anything. This is how it works. It just turns up as you need it. And I think I'm pretty sure it was Bajar. He said, how great is your trust in this? How great is your trust in this? And my trust is great in this because it works. And it will work for you. You just got to find it in you. It can't be Dr. Joe's way or my way. You've just got to find it in you. And we can give you these little pointers. And like Dr. Joe said, our little antennas come together and we just do this with each other. And if it feels good with the other antennas, you'll do this, and you'll communicate, and you'll get what you need, and then you go on your way. And you go back and you work through in alignment.
And it's supposed to be more exciting like that, the last minute stuff, because I'm like, is it the last minute yet? Because to be honest with you, the way that we got this place that we're in now was nothing short of miraculous, and there are miracles happening in my life every day, but I don't see them really unless I take time out at the end of the day and almost like replay the day. And I can almost like see loads and loads of synchronicities happening throughout the whole day. But when I've got a cob on, and I'm not perfect, I'm trying to learn like everybody else. When I've got a cob on and I'm closed down a bit, everything's a trial, it's tribulation, it's an ordeal and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But I have been given tools that I practice frequency that I practice frequently, right, in order to try and change the polarity really and get back to the neutral. Because I think that, we get placed in a position of neutrality where we can then see both sides, And my thing again is, if you can't stand up for yourself and you can't step back when you need to, then you're limited then. So it's almost like looking at every situation that arises to say, should I go forward? Should I go backwards, or should I do nothing? And that's what my life's like now. That's how I navigate now. I get a feeling, and it's almost like we're being guided right through this peculiar world at the moment, if we just keep open and listen attentively to the feelings that our heart's trying to show us, really going with the flow.
And the flow is the two streams, and tapping into the intelligence. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, and slowing speech down is another good tool, because it makes you, if you can slow your speech down, you can hear what you're saying to others and yourself, and what you're programming. Because the hertz and creation and the frequency doesn't have emotion like we do, not like us humans. It just doesn't. It's either this or this. Which one is it? Your choice. It kind of sounds harsh sometimes, but it really is. Are you choosing to breathe? Keep breathing. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. Oh, are you choosing this? I don't know if that feels so good. Go back this way.
And that's it. That's it, Elsa, isn't it? It's sorry, you're going to say something else. Beg your pardon.
Oh,
No. So I think, see, I get, when we talk about ants, this is how my head works, because first of all, again, adamant. I think, okay, adamant, that was a pop, so are you adamant, Joseph, that I think, okay, I'll work on that one. And then I get anti-ant, I get anti-Mary and her canary, you see, because that's how my head goes, Auntie Mary had a canary up the leg of her drawers, and that's how my head works all the time. There's like a naughty little boy in there, right? Right. And if you don't know that little rhyme, I suggest that you Google it because it's a bit rude, but I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think we're on the right track. It's just that if we knew where we were going or what was coming up, I think some of the stuff we'd try and avoid it like the plague, and that's why I don't think that we get the information. And that's why I'm a bit sort of wary about predictions, and when people are doing the scanning and the psychic scanning and they're saying, oh, this is what you're here for, I used to try and go to psychics to get a reading to try and find out what it was all about. This is only me talking now. I don't do that anymore. I don't allow anybody to tell me what I'm here for. I'll have to work that out myself. Otherwise, it's not a journey of self-discovery then. It's still relying on other. Now, please don't get me wrong. I'm just talking about myself. It's then relying on some sort of external information then to try and guide me process. And it could be actually taking me away from what I'm really supposed to be doing, So I'm very cautious about that. Not that I don't listen to every bit of information that's coming in. I do. But I almost like put it into my heart so that can sift out for me and then send me the information back to me. So it's like an internal process. And I really see that the whole business has been set up, this whole matrix or matrices or whatever, it's been set up for one reason and one reason alone, is for self-mastery. And I think that's why we're all here. It's a journey of self-mastery. But I've got no idea what all that was about, but we've nearly come to time. I'm going to hand you back for your closing words.
The topics we touch on sometimes, like the matrix and now I'm touching on the ANUs. They're very big topics. They're heavyweight topics. It's like AI. It's all these heavyweight topics. But if you can come back and decipher the symbols and come back to just tapping into what parts of these words resonate for you, what triggers you, what sends you on your day to day through these words, you'll find what messages you need out of it. You might not need the whole story. You might just only need a little bit of it. And you don't have to wear someone else's story. That's their thing. That's how they've got through to this point. And it doesn't mean that I'm more right than them or they're more right than me. That's just how they did it. That's where they are. This is how their story understands how they're at this point. This is how my story understands I'm at this point. My kids' stories are completely different to mine. They're not the same. And this is this coming together of all the different stories, the story ones coming together. This is how that we evolve as a colony, as a nest. This is how we become the higher breeds of us. And we're being watched because we're very entertaining.
I feel that
and I
a
don't
lot.
mean just your audience.
Yeah. No. I feel that a lot as well. And I think with regard to that, once again, it becomes so important to listen to your heart, because that's what all the songs say. Listen to your heart, right? Because that will guide you where you need to go. I also believe that. Elsa, I love you. I love these chats. They go so quickly and it fires off so many. It takes me about 2 weeks to get over that chat, really, because so many things keep flying in. But my thing is, again, it's all very well getting this information. How can I practically apply it to my life to improve my own life, to improve my understanding of life. And maybe if I've got any energy left, to help other people as well, because that's not my priority now. Helping other people is not my priority. And if you want to call me selfish over that, you can do, right? Because I don't care. But what I'm trying to say is the priority for me is getting closer to what I consider to be the truth, right, of my soul's purpose, whatever the hell that means, you know. So there you go.
Wow.
Let's see what comes up next. And
Thank you.
no, thank you very much. And I'll see you when I see you, and maybe we'll have another one of these further down the road.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'm sure we
Thank
will.
you, John.
All right, and if there's anything, give us a shout, and vice versa. And thanks very much, everybody, for listening in. And I hope you've got something from that, and it's helped in some way. So may the force remain with you forever and ever. And nomine Patris et Filio et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Amun. And all that sort of stuff. Bye-bye.